Tired of confusing economic theories? In this video, you'll discover the most simple and powerful way to understand economics. No complicated math, no confusing jargon. Just one concept that will change the way you view money, policy, and the future. Let's watch. Introduction. What if you could see the future? Not in a mystical sense, but in a practical, economic one. What if you could look at a new government policy, a business decision, or a technological shift and understand not just its immediate effects, but its consequences for years to come? This is the true power that a genuine understanding of economics grants you. It's a lens that brings the hidden future into focus. Today, we'll explore the core ideas from Henry Hazlitt's classic work, Economics in One Lesson, a book that cuts through the complexity to reveal a simple yet profound principle that can change how you see the world. Chapter 1. The Core Lesson: Seeing the Unseen. Economics is, perhaps, the most misunderstood field of study. Even experts frequently disagree. Why is this? It's because economics is not like physics or mathematics. You can solve an equation without your personal feelings getting involved. But economics is deeply entangled with human emotions, particularly with our self-interest and our desires. It's nearly impossible to be completely objective about money and policy when your own job, your savings, or your business is on the line. This is why economic policies are so often contentious and why they change with the political winds. A policy enacted today might shower benefits on one group of people, say farmers or manufacturers, while causing silent, gradual suffering for another group, like taxpayers or consumers. The measure of a sound economic mind, according to Hazlitt, is the ability to look beyond this immediate, visible effect. A poor economist, he says, looks only at the short term. They see the jobs a new program creates today, but they are blind to the jobs that higher taxes might destroy tomorrow. A good economist, however, is like a master chess player, thinking several moves ahead. They analyze the entire timeline of consequences. They ask critical questions. What will this policy do next year, in 5 years, for the next generation? And most importantly, do these consequences benefit only a privileged few, or do they ultimately serve the best interests of the entire society? This discipline of tracing the consequences for everyone is the heart of the one lesson. Chapter 2. The Parable of the Broken Window. To make this concept concrete, let's turn to one of the most famous stories in economics, the Parable of the Broken Window, originally told by the 19th century French economist Frédéric Bastiat. Imagine a young boy playing recklessly, throws a stone, and shatters the large window of a baker's shop. A crowd gathers, and at first someone remarks, "Well, it's a misfortune, but at least it's good for the glazier. After all, the baker will have to pay the glazier to fix the window. The glazier will earn money, which he might then spend at the restaurant, and the restaurateur might then buy new shoes, and so on." It seems like the broken window has actually stimulated the local economy. This is the effect that is seen. But Bastiat urges us to consider what is unseen. The baker was planning to use that money, let's say it was $200, to buy a new suit from a tailor. Now, instead of having both a window and a new suit, he has only a window. The tailor loses a sale. The community has a repaired window, but it has lost the new suit, along with all the economic activity that suit would have generated. Broken windows didn't create new wealth. It only forced the baker to redirect his spending from a desired investment to a necessary repair.
Destruction is not creation. This broken window fallacy appears constantly in modern economic discussion. You hear it when people claim that natural disasters or even wars are good for the economy because they lead to rebuilding. But this is a profound error. These events create urgent need, but they destroy existing wealth and purchasing power. They force people and governments to divert resources from productive investments to mere restoration. True healthy economic demand is not just about need. It's need backed by the ability to pay for it without sacrificing other vital parts of the economic ecosystem.
Chapter 3. The government's well-intentioned trap. This fallacy leads us directly to a common trap that governments fall into: the single-minded obsession with creating jobs. Now, let's be clear, employment is vital. A job provides dignity, purpose, and income. But when a government uses taxpayer money with the primary goal of creating jobs, it often loses its way. It may end up funding projects that have no real value to society, what critics call digging holes and filling them back up again, simply to put people on a payroll. This approach is inherently wasteful. It misallocates precious public funds and can create opportunities for corruption as officials funnel money to favored contractors for unnecessary work. The smarter, more economically sound approach is to first identify projects that society genuinely needs: a safer bridge, a more reliable energy grid, updated water systems, and then undertake them. Job creation in this case is a welcome and natural byproduct of useful work. An even more effective strategy than direct government spending is to create a healthy environment for private business. This means offering sensible tax incentives and reducing burdensome regulations that discourage entrepreneurs. Private businesses are the true engine of sustainable job growth. When the government taxes heavily to fund its own job programs, it ironically stifles the very private sector innovation and expansion that creates lasting employment. The ultimate goal should not be simply to have everyone employed, but to have everyone engaged in productive work that builds real, lasting wealth and benefits for the entire community. Chapter 4. The Discipline of the Lender. We can see this same principle of discipline and long-term thinking in the world of finance, specifically in the difference between private and government loans. When you walk into a bank to ask for a loan, the process is rigorous. The bank will scrutinize your credit history, your business plan, and your ability to repay. Why? Because the bank is risking its own capital, or the capital of its depositors. It cannot afford to be careless. This discipline is a good thing. It ensures that money flows to those who are most likely to use it productively and repay it, which strengthens the entire economy. Government loan programs, however, often operate under a different set of rules. Guided by political pressures or a well-intentioned sense of charity, these programs frequently lend to borrowers who have been rejected by private banks as too risky. Take, for example, loan programs for farmers or small businesses. While the intention to help is admirable, lending without strict regard for the borrower's ability to repay is what Hazlitt calls an economic offense. It often sets up the borrower for failure and leads to high rates of default. The money, which came from taxpayers, is wasted. There's an old saying that sums this up perfectly. If you borrow a little and can't pay it back, it's your problem. But if you borrow a huge amount from the public treasury and can't pay it back, it becomes everyone's problem. When loans are not repaid, it doesn't just vanish. The loss is ultimately borne by the public. Therefore, when it comes to issuing loans and ensuring they are paid back, governments have a great deal to learn from the accountability and discipline of the private sector.
Chapter 5, The March of Progress. Finally, let's confront one of the most persistent economic fears, the idea that technology, from automated looms to artificial intelligence, will steal our jobs. This anxiety is understandable. We've all seen stories of factories automating and workers being laid off. This is the seen effect, and it is real, painful, and personal. But we must also train ourselves to see the unseen effects, which is the grand story of human progress. Yes, a manufacturer who automates may lay off workers in the short term, but that manufacturer now produces goods at a lower cost. This allows them to lower prices, which benefits consumers. It also allows them to outperform competitors, who are then forced to innovate as well. Most importantly, an entire new industry springs up to build, maintain, and improve these new machines, creating new jobs that didn't exist before. The history of technology is not a history of permanent unemployment. It is a history of job transformation. The answer to technological change is not to resist it, as the trade unions of the industrial age sometimes tried to do by creating rigid boundaries between professions. The answer is to adapt. It is to reinvent ourselves, to acquire new skills, and to learn how to provide value in the new economy that technology itself is building. Progress doesn't eliminate work. It changes the nature of work.
Conclusion. The one lesson applied. And so we return to the one lesson, the thread that connects all these ideas. The art of economics, Henry Hazlitt teaches us, does not lie in merely looking at the immediate consequences of an act or a policy for one single group. The art lies in tracing the consequences for all groups and in tracing them far into the future. It is a lens of clarity in a world of confusing headlines and political promises. Before you endorse any economic idea, train yourself to ask the simple but powerful questions. And then what? Who benefits right now in a way that is obvious to everyone? And who pays the price, perhaps quietly and perhaps years later? Does this policy build genuine, sustainable wealth, or does it merely break a window and call the repair bill economic growth? Use this lesson. Apply it to the news you read and the policies you debate. When you do, you will begin to see the world not with the short-sightedness of a politician or the panic of a headline reader, but with the calm, clear-eyed vision of a true economist. This has been a summary of Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. Thank you for listening. That concludes the book summary for this episode. Hopefully, the discussion opened up new insights for you. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.